Hi, good afternoon, students. Welcome to the first session for this semester for Satkam. We'll give it a few minutes since it's the first session. Let's give it a couple of more minutes and we'll get started. Can any of you just on the chat let me know if you're able to hear my voice properly? Can you let me know if you're hearing me properly? Anybody can post on the chat group on the chat if you can hear me. All right, let's get started. Welcome all to this session. We are going to have a very interesting topic on curiosity and inquisitiveness, and you'll understand why. I mean, especially in the new world you're entering, which is all about AI. In any profession you're going to go to, this is a extremely necessary skill as you're going to learn through this session. So before we go into that, let me just give you a couple of spend a couple of minutes about Satkam. So we are. So I myself, my name is Abhijit Bide. I have close to 30 years of experience in the industry, and I have worked across the world. I was in the US for a very long time, and then came back to India. And I worked in product companies, built software products, and been fortunate to um, work in companies where we have been acquired or we acquired companies. So have some good experience in the product space. Now, what we have done at Satkam is like me, there are more than 70, 75 people from the industry who have come together, and this is a non-profit, which means we don't make any money doing this. We are doing this for students to help them get good jobs or start a business or make sure they become successful in life. So at Satkam, basically, we'll be working with you through the semester, and you will be interacting with different people from the industry who are holding positions, right from CEOs to owners to VPs to head of engineering to technical architects, so on and so forth. So you're going to meet a lot of interesting people. So I would strongly recommend make the most of it. And the reason I say that, folks, is because these all these people who are going to speak with you for 2 hours each week. it would be very difficult for anybody to get even 2 minutes on their calendar to speak with them. They are that busy, but they are chosen to work with you guys to see how you can be successful in the industry. And once you're by the time you get to your fourth year, you're ready to get a very good job. So, with that said, everything else about Satkam is on our website at www.satkam.org. As I said, it's a non-profit, and you'll see a lot of details on that about what we do and why we do it. So, if anybody is interested, I'll just type the URL here. You can always go and visit it if you want. One sec. Okay. So with that said, let's get started with the topic for today. And as we go through the topic, we'll be interacting and hope you enjoy it and learn from it. All right, let's get going. Hello all. First and foremost, welcome to this exciting topic of curiosity and inquisitiveness. So basically, today we are going to spend some time on this important topic, which we now believe, for all of us coming from the industry, that it is no longer even a nice to have. It is like a very necessary skill for all of you, and we'll learn why, and we'll try to convince you why it is so important for you to have a good professional career. With that said, it is a set B. We are teaching this topic to students in four parts: set A, B, C, and D. And while the sets are not linked to each other, you can start from any set. This is the B part of the set. Yeah. How are we going to learn this topic? Basically, this is the agenda. We're going to start with first, before we start saying anything about this topic, we need to be convinced that why it is important in the first place, right? So let's talk about that. Then all of us are today, regardless of which profession you are in, AI is everywhere and it is going to only keep increasing. But while AI has all its benefits, it is also, in a sense, a trap for a lot of professionals because AI is doing a lot of things we were doing in the past. So let's understand that, because finally you need to inculcate or get all these skills to get better at using AI and become the masters of AI rather than a slave of AI, right? Else AI will just replace us, and we don't want that to happen. Now, before we go into how we acquire this skill, it is always interesting to know what is stopping us from having this skill in the first place today, right? Because unless we address that, how can we learn the skill? So we'll talk for a few minutes on that. And then we'll start going to the methods and how can I get better. And this topic sounds very simple: curiosity and inquisitiveness, our ability to ask questions. But you'll realize, and you would have seen everywhere, that we always shy away from asking questions. We cannot stand in public and ask questions, or we have not learned the ability to ask good questions. So why is that, right? So let's learn some methods to get better at it. So then we'll spend some time on those methods. There are multiple methods. We'll learn two or three of them today. In today's session. And then we'll go into how can I practice it, and I practice it in various scenarios, right? Sometimes you'll have time constraints, so how can I ask all the questions I want? What do I do in that case? And we'll do a small case study around that, and we'll learn all of this using case studies only, so it's like relevant. And it's these case studies are from day to day life, right, from our experiences. And then at the end, we'll also talk about how we can use this skill, which we are going to learn and practice, or we should, as a career edge to get a good job, to keep my job, to get promotions, to get better at what I'm doing, so on and so forth. So that's kind of the agenda for today's session. Of course, I mentioned this sets A, B, C, D. We did set A. Yeah, we have set in recording. If anybody is interested, you don't need to see it, but in case you are interested, you can. So if so, reach out to us, and we can send the link to you. But today, let's start focusing on what we are going to teach in set B, right? Um, Now, as I mentioned, let's first convince ourselves, right, on why being curious and inquisitive is a critical must-have skill. I mean, you hear about prompt engineering, right? I mean, prompts, or I'm sure, regardless of whether you're in engineering or finance or marketing or commerce or arts, doesn't matter. All of us are using AI now, correct? And with AI, the way you interact with AI is like you're interacting with a human being. It will not talk to you unless you talk to AI, right? So, funnily enough, while this curiosity and inquisitiveness was always important, now it is even more important, because else, how do you get the best out of something which everybody is going to use, right? Which are all these AI tools. So, and they are becoming more and more dominant. So let's convince ourselves about that first, right? So I mean, most times what is happening nowadays is we have got something so powerful with us that we are using it like a black box. I'm asking some question, I get some answer, and I say that, oh, that answer must be correct, right? So basically, when you use something like a black box, you never try to understand how that AI is coming up with the answer. I never asked it all the right questions, so I have a good understanding. So tomorrow, if it is sending me some wrong information, I know it is wrong. Correct? So if you don't understand that, right, then what you are doing, everybody can do. Because the question, if you're asking simple questions and just taking the answers and giving it as your answer, then anybody can do it. So why do I need you? Correct? But actually speaking, the skill of curiosity and inquisitiveness can really help you with this, and make sure that you are valuable to the company, because you understand now really well on how to use AI in the proper way. And also, remember, while I'm talking about AI, because it's very relevant to your generation now, it is a general skill, right? Curiosity and inquisitiveness is a general skill while interacting with anybody, or learning anything, or trying to stand out with knowledge. Just AI just there today. So coincidentally, I need that skill to also interact really in a much better way with AI, right? So I mean, simple analogy, right? I mean, let's start with a very simple example which can kind of give you an idea what I'm talking about. So all of you would have used Google Maps, right? And you know that it uses GPS, right? So for example, you're using Google Map, and it takes turn. I mean, this is an extreme example, and Google Maps drives you while you're driving. It tells you take a right, and there's a lake there, right? And you basically can follow it blindly, but you'll not do that, right? Your brain, you know it is wrong. But now imagine for a minute that while you're using Google Maps, your phone dies, or you're completely lost. You're gotten so used to now, right, to use a GPS like a black box, or a Google Maps like a black box, that you never even start paying attention. You stop paying attention to the landmarks, to what is around the before GPS was there. People had to pay attention to where they wanted to go, what are the roads, what are the signs, so that if they get lost, it's very easy for them to, in their head, to create a map and make sure I find my way. But a black box means I'm trusting it blindly. I open Google Maps, and if I have to go from point A to point B, I don't even pay attention to the road around me. I don't pay attention to anything. So tomorrow, if I don't have that, what if my phone is not there with me? What do I do now? Right? I have no mental model. I have no idea of where I am. I have not paid attention to any landmarks. Like there is a temple, there is a building, there is this turn, nothing. I'm not paid attention. I'm just looking at the map. It says turn right, I'll turn right. Turn left. Nothing. And I'm lost now. Correct? So actually speaking, if you why if you're paying attention, you're actually asking questions. Hey, wait a second, this temple is here, and from the temple I took a left. Which right did I take? You're continuously asking that, answering your own questions in your head. And I'm starting with a very simple example of curiosity, right? That I'm curious that, wait a second, I took a right here, I reached here, but I could have reached the same way from some other direction. So now you are being curious about the area, and you start exploring. Whereas with the GPS, you don't need to do any of that, right? And the reason this analogy is important is because today, slowly but surely, because of Google Maps, we are losing that ability to become curious about the space around us, right? We don't pay attention to things. It's a very small example of a very big skill we are losing, which our brain is very well capable of remembering things, of questioning what I'm seeing, and I'm losing that, right? And now scale that to all the things you are doing today, which will be, you lose like use like a black box, like GPS. You use AI now, right? I'll ask it, it tells me, I'll take the answer. So I'm losing the ability to think, ask questions, become curious about why, what, etc. That's why this example, right? So what we are going to learn in today's session is actually to see how I can avoid that, so I don't lose that critical skill, which will make sure when an organization tries to hire me, They don't look at me saying this guy just can use AI like a black box. I can get 1,000 people like that, or maybe I don't need anybody like that. But wait a second, this guy is actually a master of AI, right? Master of this because he has acquired this skill by asking the right questions, by being insightful, by being curious, by ability to work with AI in a much better way, right? And you'll be wondering why I keep mentioning AI all the time. But as I said, right, any job you're going to go into now, any job, right, regardless of what you're going to do, you are going to use those tools, right? Which is why the relevance of this topic. Yeah. Okay, so let's while I'm saying that if you use something like a black box, or which means that I ask a question, I get an answer, and I take it, right? Does it really harm you? Right? Does it really harm you from doing getting a job or doing better in a job? Does it really do that? We will. I know there are there are from students from various backgrounds here, but I'll take a few examples, right, and tell you very simple examples of how it can harm you, right? So basically, let's say I know some of you guys will be in software engineering, right? You might be doing BTech in AI or BTech in CS, so on and so forth, and aspiring to become developers, right? Who can develop code, correct? Now, I'm sure today also, while in college, when you're getting projects, you're using some AI tool to write code, right? It generate code, so on and so forth. Now, the trap is that you will basically use AI. Now, you not write code, because while you're writing code, you can make mistakes, and when you make mistakes, then you correct them and you keep learning by making mistakes. Now, no longer you need to do that, right? You'll ask AI to do all of that, correct? So now when it gives you an answer and it works, right? You don't bother to pay attention to the logic it has used. How is it constructed? How is it going from point A to point B? So you just take it, submit it, correct? And same thing you might try doing in a job. Now the de-skilling part, the problem you're creating for yourself is because you're losing that ability to fix problems because you don't understand how it has done it, correct? Now imagine you go for an interview and they give you a problem and you don't have any AI tools with you, right? And they most of the time what they will do is they'll put a problem inside, so that when you write, you face that problem and they want to see whether you can understand and solve the problem, right? Now you don't have that capability, you don't have the depth or understanding. So now even if you get a job, you'll remain like a junior person because you are just basically somebody who is more like a librarian, right? I mean, to use a word, because you're just being asked, you do something and you submit it and you're done. Whereas the people who will move forward are the people who will be called saying, hey, wait a second, we used AI as a powerful tool, but you are the subject, you are the expert. So we are having a problem. Tell me how we can now work with it to change the logic. But to change the logic, I have to understand the logic in the first place. You will not understand that if you are not used AI like a if you are used AI like a black box, right? And how we'll relate this to this ability to ask the right questions and be inquisitive so that you can understand this logic is what we're going to learn in today's session. But this is an example of how you can de-skill yourself over time, and some of you may be able to relate to this with your college projects, because you might have done something, it looks good, you get marks, but in a job there are no marks, they actually are going to test you, right? So that's the trap you might fall in. Now, you might be thinking this might happen for only technical people. No, you're a marketing guy, right? Now, things are becoming so simple with AI that you can use AI to generate like a headline or a creative image or a social media post, and you just say, okay, I'm done, submit it. Now, the problem is that if everybody has the same tools, everybody has the same access to AI tools, right? So then everybody's marketing will become almost very similar. How can your company stand out then? How can your product stand out for which you're marketing? So now AI just averages out, because it's like it has all the data from everything. It just averages out and creates something which anybody can use. But now what you will lose as the abilities, can I understand that for my product, my customer, how can I generate something, right, which is unique, correct? Because now you have started relying on AI completely. So you stop your brain from thinking that what are the questions, what are the things I should be asking about my customer, about my product, so that it will stand out, so that I can create a marketing campaign which is different from others. Because your competitor is also going to use the same AI tool. So now everybody is the same. So now if you're in that company, your boss will say that what are you bringing? Because you're doing the same things everybody is doing. So you become invisible. right? You don't become that visionary guy who can do some different things. And what stands out in the market is when you're different and more impactful than others. So the marketing guy will just become what everybody is, and slowly but surely they'll say, why do I need you, right? So this is that de-skilling trap for a marketing person. Similarly, right, let's say some of you guys will go into testing careers, right? It may be for software testing, hardware testing, it could be anything, right? But you might go into testing careers. Now, with your before testing was all about was asking questions. Your ability to become curious about your product and ask all the right questions so that you can generate this what they call as test plan, right? That what all do I need to test? What is the most important to test? And more you ask questions, more and more you learn about the product and different aspects of the product so you can test it correctly. But now with AI, you're just going to feed the information to it and say, give me the test plan, right? And you'll say that it generated a long list. Okay, let me just use it. Now, what are you losing with this, right? Testing is not about checking the code or checking the product for what it is built for. It is about how you can break the product, right? But you cannot break a product unless you are thinking about the product in all different ways on how it can break when it goes out in the market, when customers start using it. And for that, you need to ask various kind of questions, right? What will happen if I do this? What will happen in this scenario if this happens? What happens when a customer does this and then that? These are the kind of questions you need to start asking in various ways so that you can say, oh yeah, okay, I need to test this, oh I need to test that, if this happens I will do test that. Now if you're not asking those questions, you have lost that ability, and you are using AI like a black box to say, give me all the testing I can do with this product. It will give it to you, but you will lose out on many things which actually only you can do, and not AI, because AI is, as I said, it's an average thing. It will average out that such products should be tested this way. So such for such products, test these things. It is just going to average it out. You know exactly who your customers are, you know what your product is supposed to do for that customer, what market it is in. So only you know that, and if you're not asked the right questions to generate that or to create that, then again, as I said, you will fall into that de-skilling trap. And then you will, again, the company, they'll say, why do I need you? I will feed it. Why do I need a tester or a QA person to do this? Anybody can feed it and get the answer from AI and use it blindly, right? So these are the kind of people who are at risk of even getting a job. Forget about keeping a job, right? Same, I'm giving few examples because a lot of you guys might be aspiring to do different things when you get out of college, right? So like somebody wants to become go into marketing, somebody wants to go into development, somebody wants to become a tester. Similarly, somebody wants to work in UI UX. You might have people from the creative side or an engineer who wants to develop UI, right? Same thing again. You can use AI to generate, give me this creative, just design this layout for me. It can do that very easily actually, right? So then before you needed people to really ask questions about many things, saying, oh, I have this kind of a user, right? Who is basically our most of our users are old, not young. So for an old person who is going to use this, what kind of UI should I construct or design so it's very comfortable to them, right? There are other aspects you know about your product or your company or your market or your customer or your competition, which AI won't know, right? So again, it is going to develop average for you. It will look nice, but it will not be successful because it has not accounted for many important things which you can only get after you ask the right questions and then design the UI by answering those questions. But you're not asking those questions, right? So then why do I need you? Because AI can give me a normal UI very easily or a design very easily, right? So what is your value to me? That standard design can everybody can do now, right? Before it was not true. When there was no AI, you needed people even to do the standard designs, but now you don't. And the only way you can avoid that is by asking all the questions you need to ask to understand your product, your customer, your competition, your area, so that now the design or the UI you design actually fits what your goal is, your need is. Yeah, I can't do that, okay, because it doesn't have all the context, correct? So again, the curiosity and inquisitiveness or ability to learn to ask good questions is the key skill here, because else normal questions are getting answered by AI anyway, right? Maybe you're in customer service. Again, one of the important jobs of customer service always is to find out if my customer is happy, right? Now what I can do is I can take all the I can take all the app reviews from and just feed them to AI and say, hey, tell me if my customer is happy or not, and give me the score. It will do that, right? But in that there are some comments which you're not asking questions around saying, hey, why is the customer saying this? Oh well, wait a second, one customer liked it, one customer did not. How is that happening? Why is he liking it and why is he not liking it? These questions will tell you what is the problem with your customer satisfaction. There is an emotion behind every product, right? And that AI can't realize. But unless you understand that data really well and start asking the questions to analyze that data, right? How will you come up with insights or things which only you can come up with? AI, if you feed that data to AI will come with the answer saying, oh, your customer likes this, your customer doesn't like this, this is the score. Yeah, sure. But what have you learned now? You're taking it blindly. And if AI says now that, oh, your customer doesn't like this, so do this, you'll say, okay, do this. But then tomorrow, if that doesn't work, and somebody asks you the question, why did you suggest this? You don't know the answer, right? You just took it blindly, right? So that is another kind of trap, right? So the question becomes, our topic is curiosity and inquisitiveness. So how does it help you avoid this de-skilling trap to make sure that you don't become irrelevant to the industry, that companies will hire you despite of AI as an AI master, right? That you can use it as a tool, correct? Or if you're in front of a customer, you're in front of anybody, you can actually do a good job because you have learned the skill of asking the good questions and using those to actually do your work, right? Now, before we do that, though, most people will be saying that, wait a second, I understand it is important, but I really cannot ask questions. But why do people feel that? What are the usual reasons why people stop being curious or stop asking questions? And this can be in public forums, or this can, because when you ask questions, you can ask it to a tool, but most time you'll have to interact to ask these questions. You have to interact with people who know better than you. But something stops us from asking questions, right? What are those things? If I don't know that, right, even if I am convinced that I need to do this, I'll not be able to because something is stopping me, right? What are those things? So before I go there, right, if you have any questions till now, right, of what we have covered, if you're confused about something, let me know. I'll pause and you let me know, and we can chat a little and address those before you go further. Yeah. So, as I said, what are the reasons we don't ask questions? So, most times, I mean, this happened with me also when I was my early career, right? We basically are afraid to appear arrogant or stupid, right? Oh, if I ask, will it sound stupid, right? This seems like a very dumb question. Should I ask it? But I don't know the answer. But how do I ask it, right? See, in most cases, the opposite is true. Believe me, guys, I've been in the industry for 25 plus years and we are desperate for people to ask questions, right? There is no bad question because we just are waiting for somebody to ask a question. So, believe me, when you feel it's a dumb question, most people have the same question in their head and they're not asking it, right? So, asking questions is actually a sign of intelligence, and it demonstrates your desire to learn and understand. It is very attractive to your manager, to your company, that you're asking questions. So remove the thought that any question, and I really, really mean any question, right? That if you ask a question as simple as, oh, I don't understand why sun rises in the east and sets in the west, it's okay. How many people actually are curious to know that? Maybe they know, or even if they don't know, they are saying, oh, it sounds so stupid. It happens every day. Why should I ask a question? No, it's not a stupid question. Because that will lead you to more questions which actually will answer or make you understand things which others don't, right? So don't be afraid ever to ask questions, right? And believe me, as I said, no question will make you sound ignorant or stupid. In fact, you will be liked for asking questions, okay? So that's reason one. And by the way, we take sessions on these in our other topics called articulation and communication, where we teach you, right, that if you're in front of somebody and you feel this, how can you actually ask the question, right, without fearing this. But in this topic, I'm just saying that you should not ever worry about that. Go ahead and ask. right? Another thing is people feel I'm an introvert, I don't have confidence, so on and so forth, right? But see, confidence doesn't happen in one shot, it takes time, right? Because you ask one question and then you get the confidence that tomorrow you'll ask two, then sometime you'll say, wait a second, I asked this but I don't think I did it in the right way, so you'll go again and ask it in the right way and then feel confident saying, yeah, now I get it. So confidence is a true problem. I agree with that. It is a problem because a lot of us are not used to just making ourselves be noticed in front of people. But the only way to do this is start small, right? Start very small things. Start talking to people or asking questions to people you're comfortable with, or start asking questions to tools, right? Like you can ask questions to AI, you can ask on Google or wherever search engines and ask question. Doesn't matter. Maybe practice that way so you don't feel afraid or don't feel that you don't have confidence, right? And then move to people. But building confidence takes time, but you have to start somewhere. Start slowly, slowly, but do it, right? This I've seen with some people, right? They already know the answer. So somebody is talking and say, I know this. Yeah, 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 I get it. But maybe you don't. So the moment you have that thought that I understand something 100%, challenge it. Challenge yourself. And do I really know it 100%? I think I know it fully, but maybe I should ask a couple of questions to clarify if my understanding is correct or not, right? Because the assumption is dangerous that I know everything. It will stop you from asking any more questions, correct? So the simple technique or trick here is that if you somebody speaking, you're learning something, yeah, yeah, I get it, I know this. All you can do is ask couple of questions to yourself saying, if I believe I understand it, can I answer these two, three questions which I'm hearing here? If you can and you can validate that, great. If not, ask those questions, right? Now this again, as I said in the bottom, we'll learn some methods, right? That how to know how to formulate a question, right? So some of the things we are going to speak about today on how to formulate good questions, right? But many a times we have a question, but I don't know how to put it in words. I don't know how to ask it in a way by which I can get the answer. Yeah, it's a genuine problem, and this is a skill one needs to learn. And it is not about language, by the way, not about knowing good English. You, if you can even formulate that question in your own mother tongue, right? It's okay, but we struggle with that, and it's a skill we need to learn. That I have a lot of things in my head I want to ask, but I don't know how to construct. It's a genuine problem, right? And but again, like confidence, you need to start practicing it, correct? And this is another thing, time constraint. Your teacher is teaching in the class, you have a question and you feel, oh my god, the class is only 60 minutes and only I have a question, but if I ask now I'll waste time and there is limited time. So how do I ask? Or that person may not answer because he's going to be impatient with me, right? He's not going to answer because there is limited time, right? But we know it is important to ask. Now there, what you need to learn is, I don't have time to ask many questions, but what is that one question I could ask by which that other person will be patient and say, hey, great question. Let me spend some time in answering it. So we are going to actually learn some part of this also in today's session, right? And how do I, if I limited time, right? How do I rightfully focus and ask the right question? We are going to talk about that, right? Because curiosity and inquisitiveness topic for today, it is not just about coming up with questions. It is also knowing what question is more important so that I can go in a sequence that it's not random, that I just don't keep asking things all over the place. Yeah, correct. So let's start with a case study to just start testing ourselves on this, right? That how do I make sure that I'm developing, do I have this skill, or is there a method to learn this skill? So we can take a very simple example. Let's say that you guys are in college or school, doesn't matter, and you're taken to a local airport, right? Some local airport, and for a trip, and you are given a fantastic opportunity to go in and look at the aeroplane, right, very closely, and you have been told or tasked by your teacher or by whoever is taking you for the field trip to get the best possible understanding of how planes work and how they fly. Very simple. You are actually going to physically go and see a plane, right? Now, there is nobody, you can go and just walk around the plane and come out. Nobody is going to tell you do anything, right? Or you'll have people that you should be asking questions to learn about it, right? But now there are many people with you, right? What kind of, how do I even come, what are the questions I should ask? So let's start with what questions come to your mind, right? Think about it. What questions come to your mind? It's an aeroplane. All of us have seen aeroplanes. All of us are fascinated by aeroplanes, right? And you have an opportunity now to learn, and you have been told that you have to learn how planes work and how they fly in this field trip. What questions come to your mind? See, if I think about the kind of questions it might come to your mind is that how is it happening? How does something this big made of metal can fly? Actually, it can go up. Like it's like a physics, right? The physics of flying. I might think about that, right? Then I might start asking that there's a plane. It's sitting here in the airplane. Where is it going, right? Then it can talk about how many people can it carry, right? What kind of fuel does it do? Does it use the same petrol I put in my motorcycle, or does it use a different kind of fuel, right? Can it go up? Every plane go very high. How high can this plane go, right? How much does it cost? So if you notice what's happening is I'm asking questions on various areas, and they're good questions, by the way, right? Because I'm just looking around and so many things are coming to my mind, right? Now, the problem with this is why this is great, by the way. Coming up with this question is a very good thing. But now I'm confused. It's so many things I have to ask, right? So now, how do I even start organizing myself? Because I'll ask one question about how high it flies, and all of a sudden I'll ask questions about how much maintenance does it need. So it's like the person is also confused that what all is he asking, right? But the first step is the great thing is that you have come up with such questions. That's very good, right? But the technique now we are going to learn is that this technique you need to practice, right? But it's a very good technique where you say, wait a second, rather than rather than becoming inquisitive and coming up with all kinds of questions, is there a way by which I can make sure that I have covered everything correctly, right? So have I asked the right questions, right? Can breaking the problem and creating groups of questions will help me here, because my questions I go right from the physics of the aeroplane to how many people and where it is going, so on and so it's all over, right? So can I call this problem breakdown, right? Can I create groups of questions in my head in categories which I am interested in, and rather than going all over, right, I can start writing or thinking about questions in each category. What does that mean? What is a category? So I am told to look at a plane, right, and understand how it works and how it flies, correct? That's my goal, correct? So to know that some of the things which I because I was seeing a plane so closely and I'm given this opportunity, so many questions have come to my mind that maybe I can categorize them. So what kind of category I can think of for myself? I thought about these categories like design. Like we ask the question, how does it fly? How? The physics of it. How is it designed? Why is it designed in that shape? So there might be some questions around the design part. Another thing is what all does it do? Right? The functionalities. What all can it do? Right? So I want to love that, to know that. But while I'm knowing that, I'm really interested in the history also. That how did this plane get invented? How long have planes been around? Right? Who invented it? Have all kinds of planes, right, being invented at the same time, or was it happened that slowly planes kept improving to where it is today? So a lot of interest in the history. So my third category in my head is history, and the fourth is like this plane is here, but where is it going? How does it go from A to B, right? Who manages the maintenance? So there are this whole questions I'll have on operations. So now, I mean, you can do your own categories, but now all of a sudden, right? My I directed my curiosity to become much simpler for me to understand, to ask, because I created four distinct categories. And now, what I'll do is, if I have pen and paper, I'll write, or I will first take 5 minutes and say, wait a second, now what questions should I ask under design? I'll not focus on functionality, history, so I'm not confused. So I'll say, okay, for each one of these categories, right? In design, the kind of questions I'm coming up with is what are the materials used? It's metal, but what is that metal, right? And why this and why not something else, right? I have a question on the design of the shape. Why is the wing shaped this way? Can it be shaped a different way, right? Or what is the purpose of the different control? I see so many things on this plane. What is the purpose, right? So why is the design incorporating these different things and what are they for? So many such questions. But now my mind is focused and I'm not going thinking about where is the plane going, right? How many people does it have? I'm focused on one category called design. So I'll first note those down. Then I'll go and say, okay, now I have two, three questions on design. Let me come with two, three questions on functionality, right? That how do they generate the power, for example? and I see that there's a most important thing is that it has to take off and land. So this landing gear comes in, goes out, comes in. What is the function, right? What is the function of the landing gear exactly? How does it work, right? And a plane goes from A to B to C to D, and how does it do that? What is the navigation system, right? How does it know where to go? You know that a lot of planes fly on autopilot automatically. How do they do that? How do they know where to go, where to land? What is that navigation system while in the air? So there's a lot of functionality. So I now focus on those two, three questions, right? Then, as I said, while I'm doing that, I'm very curious, right? This plane I see, right? It's a Boeing or whatever, right? Has it changed or has it been the same design? For when did the airplane start changing, right? What were some of the key innovations? What planes were there in the 1940s, 50s are very different than in 2025. So some key inventions would have been done to make planes this good. What are some of the key? There might be hundreds. What are some of the key ones? Right? What are the major milestones? Right? What are the major milestones in the history of aeroplanes? Correct? Which means big things have happened as the planes kept developing. What are those? Correct? So again, guys, basically what I'm trying to tell you is that it's becoming so simple for me now when I categorize because I don't get distracted now. I'm focusing and asking questions, creating categories. Correct? Or and then when I do that, now it's very simple because now that I covered everything which I'm interested in, I'm clear in my thoughts, right? But now if I have to ask questions, right, and I have limited time because there will be people, that person who has taken me for a field trip is helping so many people, correct? So now I have to look at it from the goal. What is the goal given to me? The goal is get the best possible understanding of how planes work and how they fly. So now if I look at my categories, what would be the most important category, right? The most important category, since my goal is to understand how planes work, will be about functionality, right? Operations and design, right? While less important will be history and operations, right? Sorry, there is a so typo is there, right? So functionality and design, right? My mistake. There's a typo there, right? But function and design become very important because unless I understand why the planes get are designed in a certain way and what functionalities do they have, right, when they fly, how will I get understanding how planes work? Which is my goal. If more time is there, then I'll start asking questions around the history and the operations, that oh, the maintenance, how do they do the spare parts, how, what is the servicing when they go from A to B, how do they at the airport, what do they do? It's all about the operations part, right? Or the history of aeroplanes, who invented it, what are the big innovations. All those questions are good, but if I have limited time, what I'll do is now I am very clear in my categories. And what this also does, guys, is it now this technique of categorizing and thinking of one category at a time and asking questions also helps you organize yourself, right? Another thing also it helps you is that when I start asking random questions all over the place, I don't even know what I missed. I might have missed asking something completely. But when you create categories about design, functionality, history, operations, there will be four or five more categories, safety, so on and so forth, right? You might have so many, but at least now you know very clearly that out of the 7, 8 categories which will give me a complete understanding, I'm covering 4. And out of that, for my goal, I'm asking questions around 2. So see the clarity you have, correct? See the clarity you have. Now, because of that clarity, when you ask the question, the other person says, wow, okay, this person is actually focused, asking all the right questions, right? So this technique is categorization, focusing on the category and deciding now what category is more important around asking the question in that for the goal you have. Because not every time, if I had given you the goal that understand everything about aeroplanes, then there will be no priority. There is nothing more important. Because I told you understand everything about aeroplanes. But usually that doesn't happen. You specifically have a goal. In this case, the goal was understand how planes work and how they fly. So asking questions around those categories is most critical, right? So it's a very simple technique that learn to categorize, focus with those questions, then ask them, right? So in since we are talked about like the need to be curious and inquisitive, and one of the techniques on how you can start practicing this by categorizing, focusing, and then asking to ensure there is good coverage of all the things you can think of, and then only focusing on the right ones, Correct? That's this technique we are talked about. So do you have questions around that before you go any further? Right? So if you have, then we can discuss, because now we'll go into more techniques. Correct? So I want to make sure you have good understanding till now. Okay. So now all well and good, right? But maybe let's take a small detour and say that, yeah, you keep telling us that curiosity and inquisitiveness, and yeah, with AI, I am saying it is now must do. It's, you don't have any choice if you want to stand out, get a job, and do well in your job, right? But in the past also, have there have been so many smart people in the world, but if you look at studies and research, you will notice that the smartest people in the world were the most inquisitive, right? I mean, there is a famous I think there's a famous quote, if I'm not wrong, by Einstein, if I'm not wrong, that if I'm given, let's say, 100 minutes, right, to solve something, I think what he said, and it's not exact, okay, but the theme was this, that if 100 minutes I've been given to solve something, I'll spend like 95 minutes asking questions and 5 minutes to solve. Because the solving part becomes very easy once you understood the problem. And the only way to understand it in depth is by asking questions, right? Has this though been proven? And I can tell you hundreds of most profound and important inventions in the world, or innovation in the world, have come by asking questions, right? I mean, we can take just, I can give you hundreds of examples. We'll take two quick ones, right? I mean, penicillin, everybody knows that. I don't know who doesn't know penicillin, right? So Alexander Fleming, right? I mean, penicillin was a game-changing medicine which saved millions of lives, right? How did he do it? So he was like a bacteriologist, right? And was working in his lab where he noticed that what he had kept overnight, right? There was a mold going on this, what they call as a petri dish, right? I mean, where they actually, put something and they experiment on it, right? And there was like this particular mold growing, and he said, "What is this?" Somebody else would have just taken, say, "It's dirty, I'll just throw it." Like people like us would have said, "Oh, I'll just throw it out. It's looking dirty." But he said, "No, wait a second. What is this?" Right? What is this mold? And around the mold, it seems there is a clear area. Something it has, the bacteria are not growing now there. Something happened to the bacteria around it, right? Then he asked, kept asking questions. Why is that mold which there, right? That fungus, and around that the bacteria are not growing. Could it have done something to actually tackle those bacteria? Which means that it is able to handle the bacteria and kill them or do something about it where others cannot. So then, can I figure out what it is? So he kept asking questions, right? And that simple thing which somebody like us would have just thrown out saying it looks dirty, I'll just throw it. He kept asking questions around those and kept researching and answering those. And a powerful antibiotic came out, which is called penicillin, right? Just because he answered his own questions. That how could this mold and the area around it look clean? Where are the bacteria gone? He asked these questions and he revolutionized medicine, right? And I'm giving you an example which is not from your background potentially, right? But from your background, what we experience every day, right? Another great example is the World Wide Web, the internet. It was not invented by somebody because he sat down and said, I want to invent something like the internet, right? Tim Berners-Lee, he was like he's a British computer scientist, worked at CERN, right? When his basic problem was, I'm not able to share information among colleagues, among researchers, right? He was frustrated by the limitations of what he was using today. So he started asking questions. Why can't he do it today? What is it that I'm getting frustrated with, and why? And then he started asking questions. Is there a way I can create a system that allows us to share? And it kept asking questions around and kept answering them, right? Working with people, collaborating, asking questions to people who are knowledgeable. But he kept asking these questions, and slowly but surely, what started as something which the problem was, I want to use it just to share things with my colleagues, gave rise to something which completely changed the world. Completely. The World Wide Web, the internet. Actually, you should read about this. There are beautiful videos and articles on this on the web, that how World Wide Web was invented. Can you imagine? Curiosity and inquisitiveness gave rise to something which has profoundly changed our lives, which is the World Wide Web, right? So, by the way, today, in your world of AI, there are similar case studies on how people are able to do AI inventions around AI. AI research started like 60, 70, 80 years back, right? And it didn't start saying I want to invent something. It started by asking questions. Why is our brain able to do something like this? How can my brain do this? How can my brain do this? Because everything AI is doing is trying to mimic what our brain does. But it's not like I know the answer. So unless I ask the questions, how can I get the answers? Right? So the moral of the story is, guys, that asking questions is not an exercise just to learn. It actually can result into insights which can lead to fantastic things which other will not even have thought of. Right? If given time, I can give you 100 more examples, but I hope that I've been able to give you two very big examples that change humanity, just change the world, because they could just ask the right questions, and those questions led to answers which led to fantastic inventions. Right? So now going back, I just wanted to do this small detour to make sure it's this world of curiosity and inquisitive is so exciting, right? That once you start thinking about how some of the most amazing things in the world have happened, you start getting more excited about this topic of why I should be one of them, why I should learn this, right? So are there more techniques? We learned one technique, categorization, right? Are there more? Categorization and prioritization we just talked about in a minute back, right? One other beautiful technique is called open-ended versus closed-ended questions. Lot of us guys are used to asking very close-ended questions because we have not learned how to ask good questions, right? And before I talk more about that, let's look at a simple scenario. Imagine that there is a person who works for a car company like a Tata or a Mahindra or a Hyundai or a Honda or a Toyota, doesn't really matter, right? And you are basically, when you sell a car, the goal of every company is that if I am a person in Mahindra or a Tata, that if somebody is buying a car from me, they should become loyal to me, my brand, which is Mahindra brand or Tata brand or whatever company you're working for, and rest of their cars, whatever in their life they buy, they should only buy my brand, right? Because I loved it so much. Which is why, if you notice, right, whenever you buy something big, they'll keep coming back to you, asking you, right, trying to make sure you're loyal to their brand. So in this case, for example, let's say you're one of those people working for this company, and you have a customer who has bought this SUV or car from you 6 months back, right? So, and you are saying that I want to just interact with, I call the customer, or when he comes to a showroom, I want to talk, and I want to ask a question to make sure, right? Now, in a close-ended question can be that this guy, Mr. Sharma, who is basically the person who has bought the car, I'm asking, Mr. Sharma, are you satisfied with the performance and comfort? Not a bad question, right? Are you satisfied with the performance and comfort of your new car so far? You would have heard this kind of question from people. Very standard. Typically, what would the answer be? Yeah, it's good. No complaints. Because you're not, I'm not thinking, I'm generally happy with it. Generally, I'm happy. So I'll say, yeah, no, it's good. Right? So now this good means what this person, this relationship manager doesn't even know what that means. She's going to just note down, say, this customer said good, no complaints, I'm done. But good, as I said, is the enemy of loyal. Because he's not excited. He says, it's good, no complaints. Right? Actually, you never get loyalty with that, right? Because when you say it's good, it's like, okay, I don't want to waste more time in telling you more things. You asked me, I told you. But in my head, I might have other things I want to say, but you never asked me, right? So now that person Anjali doesn't know what he has loved. Whether he loves everything or there is something he doesn't like. Because remember, it's only 6 months since the car has been bought, and I want him to become loyal to my brand, right? So I don't know whether it's good, it's okay, which means I might look at other brands now. I bought Mahindra, but let me look at Toyota and Honda and Tata also now. It's good, right? This is a trap, because the yes no is called a close ended. And now in your world, guys, right, it is happens all the time. You are given a project, right? And in the project, you are told that do something, and you say, okay, if I do this, will it work? Yes, and you do it. But there are ways, if you ask a close ended question with a yes no answer, right, or something like this, good, no complaints, there's very little chance to learn. So while asking questions, categorizing and asking is important, asking in the right way also is very critical. So one technique for that is translate that question and make it rather close ended. Close ended means its answer will be in like one sentence, like yes, no, no complaints, it's good. Translate that into somewhere where you'll get more information out of the same person or the tool or whatever you're using, right? How can I do that in this case? Maybe the question is that, hey, Mr. Sharma, You bought this car 6 months back. Was there a time in those 6 months when you were driving the car and you just loved something? It impressed you, or maybe there was a time when you it say, I bought this, but I don't like something. Has it happened to you, right, during your family trip? Now look at this. Now it will trigger Mr. Sharma to think, hey, was there something I loved, and was there something I really irritating to me? And then he could answer the question saying, yeah, last month we drove to our village, right? And I loved the ground clearance because my village has a lot of potholes, a lot of speed breakers, natural speed breakers, right? And the potholes, and my family felt safe because never the car, right, touched anything. The ground clearance was very good, right? But I also noticed that my village is remote, and when I went there, the infotainment system, the where I wanted to listen music was lagging, right? And when I tried to connect this to my daughter's phone, right, it was continually lagging and giving problems. It was very frustrating for me, right? Also, my my first servicing, I'll stay a little far. I wish somebody had picked up my car, right, and brought it back to me. I would have loved that. Now look at the amount of things is said rather than the yes no answer. Oh, it's good. The same person will say, yeah, it's good, no complaint, because this other complaint not big. Generally loves the car, likes the car, but doesn't love it. Right? I want him to love the car. So now, what did it tell me? It told me that the ground clearance are top priority, loves that, and safety, likes safety, right? So maybe there is something I can suggest my company, or suggest something to him which will improve, or actually focus more and more on things he loves. But I also noticed he doesn't like something. So quickly, maybe I could voluntarily say, hey, I noticed, but can you leave the car for, I will take care of this problem, or bring it in, right? Bring it in, and we'll take a look for you, or we'll send somebody, right? And you might give him just for the first time. We'll do a pickup and drop. Now this customer start becoming loyal, saying, "Hey, not only sold me a very good car, they're caring out whether what I love, what I don't, and trying to fix it." That's how you gain loyalty with this one open-ended question. Rather than asking whether do you have any problems, do you have any complaint, I say, yeah, it's good, no complaints. Look at the amount of things I learned. So this technique is about taking a question and rather than making it close-ended, make it open-ended so that you get more information. But you have to ask it in a way by which I can get information, then I can analyze the information to get insights. Right? Very, very interesting actually. You can try it. You can try when you are reading something or trying to understand something, right? You should try this. Correct? It will show you actually that how the same question can be translated into close-ended and from close-ended to open-ended, and it will teach you so many things. That's the technique. Right? Now there is another beautiful technique called 5 Ws and 1 H, right? I mean, rather than telling you, as I said, in Satkam, we don't do theory. These are real life scenarios, right? So these are things which happen. And I'm taking some examples from non-technical companies, non-software, because this technique is generic. Whichever field you're going, this skill is critical, guys. Critical, right? So let's consider the scenario where there is a restaurant, right? And what it is noticing is there is a sudden decline in customer satisfaction. The reviews and the stars I'm getting have gone down, right? And online reviews and feedback forms which I'm collecting, it says there is a decline in customer satisfaction. How do I use this technique, right? 5 Ws, 1 H. What does that mean, right? You see how, and remember this is a good technique actually. So what is the first W? First W is what? So before I get into it, what is the problem, guys? So ask that question. What is the problem? Problem is customer satisfaction is declining. The results in fewer repeat customers. So what is happening because of that is I'm getting less and less same customers coming. They come once and they never come back. There are more negative reviews and they mention slow service, rude staff, and there is a drop in overall ratings. That is the problem. What is the problem? This is the problem. All this information is available with me, right? I'm seeing this information. So I understand now what is the problem. And specifically I see that it is mentioning slow service, rude staff, and there's an overall drop in ratings. Okay, that's the first W. What? The next W, who? Who is affected? Who is complaining? Right? Now, why is this important, guys? Because it could happen that in this restaurant, right, only the young people are complaining. Anybody who's above the age of whatever, they are not complaining. So it could be, not in this case, but that it could be that is loud music, and young people love loud music, right? Potentially. Older people don't. So now I know that the problem is not with all my customers. It is with some segment or some parts of my customers which are older customers. Younger customers are happy with what I'm doing in that case. In this case, it's everybody is affected. Nobody is liking it. So this complaint is not about which kind of customer, not old, new, men, women, everybody is complaining. Tourists, families. So there is no demographic, which means there is no particular type of customer. But the answer, if it was that, oh, older people are not are complaining, younger are not, or women are complaining, men are not, or men are complaining, women are not. This tells me a lot actually, right? Because then I can narrow the problem down. So the next W is who. Who is affected? So the question I, the five W's and one H, the second thing I ask is who, right? Who is affected? Now I get that answer. Okay, great. What is the third W? When did the problem start? It's not like the problem has been around for years, right? That is very important because that when tells me that something could have happened around that time frame. So I had great ratings and then started dropping. Great ratings started dropping. Or it could be that, oh, the drop has been happening over time slowly. Each one of these things will tell me different things. In this case, I am seeing that the customer decline has started about 3 months ago. Ah, interesting. 3 months ago. What happened 3 months ago? Oh, this coincides with when I hired several new staff members for the kitchen, front house, everywhere. New people were hired. Maybe there is I don't know, but I at least now know that customer satisfaction reviews started going down from 3 months back. And coincidentally, that time, the big event which had happened was change of people. Maybe that's the reason, I don't know. But at least it gives me some information. That's the third W. Where? Where is it occurring? So now this information tells me that from the reviews I'm reading, a lot of the complaints are happening in the bar room. But I don't see anybody complaining about the dining room where people are eating. If people come to dine, but where there is a bar where the people come and drink, there's something happening. So the problem is not everywhere in the restaurant; it's in the bar area. It seems like it at least, right? So the W tells me now that, oh, while the problem is not like by particular age group, right, or men or women, it is not happening for every part of the restaurant, right? This W is telling me it is happening for one part. See how I'm narrowing down the problem by asking these questions, right? This fourth W, it narrowed it down now. Oh, okay. It's happening in the bar room, right? When it started happening? 3 months back. From 3 months back, it coincides with the new people I hired. So look at amount of clues it is giving me now, right? New people got hired 3 months back and ratings started going down. Everybody is complaining, but they're not complaining about all parts of the restaurant. They're complaining about a particular area more, which is the bar and not the dining room. About rude staff, bad customer service, so on and so forth. And why is the problem happening? This requires the investigation because you answered the four W's now, right? The first four. Now this why, it'll kind of give you clues, right? That, oh, it seems to the point that the staff is the problem happening in the bar room and not the main restaurant. It seems to be happening because potentially it's the new people. Because with the older people, I was not old people. The people who were there before, I was not getting the complaints in the bar room. So why is this happening? This requires investigation, but it has given me all of lot of clues already. Lot of clues, right? Now then I can do the one H. 5 W's, one H. How do I solve the problem? This also requires investigation, but this is the starting point, right? Where because I answered the 5 W's, look at this. I'd say that this is unknown, but the 5 W's seem to have pointed that the cause of problem is in the bar room and it is with the staff in the bar room. So now you have a direction. Rather than going, oh, what happened, and shouting at everybody, this, that, it is 5 W's that help to narrow down the problem. So now you know how to solve it, right? So this asking questions using this technique of 5 whys and then the how is a technique of inquisitiveness which will help you solve problems. And it can be used for anything now. You're in a software company and developing an app. You can use the 5 W's and one H. Customers are complaining, or some people are not liking our app. It could be any problem, or the app is crashing. Could be anything, right? You're working for a car company, right? And you have a problem with some feedback on the car, right? Or something is costing a lot more than what you expected. It could be any problem. You start asking, like the 5 whys, right? You start asking, what is the problem? Let me first understand before I jump into solving it. Who is the problem occurring for? Is it everybody? Who is it? When did it start happening? Is it like been always happening or just suddenly? Right? Where is the problem? Is it all over the place? Right? And why? Now the why, the reason the why is fifth is because the first four will help me get to the why. And then if I know the why, I can do the how. Right? How to solve it. That's actually our job when you join a company. That's the 5 Ws and 1 H technique. Right? It's very powerful. Yeah. So we have learned these two techniques now of categorizing, narrowing down, and asking, right? And then this 5 Ys and one H technique. Any questions so far, right? Around this before you go to the another technique, right? And remember, guys, this topic sounds, as I always said, it's simple sounding, very simple, but these are the techniques will help you practice. Because as you practice these techniques, you will get better and better and better at inquisitiveness, learning how to ask. Because you have to, as we said, right, there is no choice but to start slowly so that you can get better and better at it. And rather than saying just get better at it, use these techniques. These techniques will help you practice. Right? So now one of the things we spoke about at the beginning also is that around time pressure, right? Because a lot of the time it's not like I have infinite amount of time to ask my all the questions I have in my mind, like in the aeroplane example, right? And this happens most times in life, right? And when you join an organization, it happens all the time. Everybody has less time, right? But I learned now how to become inquisitive, how to ask the right question, construct them in my head, right? So that under time pressure, I know exactly what to ask, right? How can I do that? There is another factor, just outside of the goal you have, right? There's another factor you need to use to ensure that you are asking the right questions when you have time pressure. Out of all the questions, what will you ask? So in companies when you join, there will be this happening all the time where you will be addressed. There'll be a CEO or some leader in the company will come and start telling you every 3 months that how the company is performing, what are the plans, what is the future, what is the strategy. They'll always give you. And unfortunately, most people listening don't ask questions, and the ones who ask stand out. Oh, great, right? You want to be that person who stands out because it is a beautiful opportunity to actually get noticed and also learn, right? So in this example, let's take an example and say understand what I'm talking about, right? So let's say that there is a company called Autonova, right? It's an automobile company, correct? And all of us work for this company, right? And I am in this. They have a big facility in Haryana, right? And there's a town hall. As I said, the CEO is Vikram Khanna. He is coming to address all these people of Autonoma, all the employees. We are all the employees, right? And he's just telling us about some of the things about the company. This will happen in any company you join. Somebody will keep telling you, but nobody pays attention, and then they realize, oh, why am I not getting opportunities? Why am I not getting promotion? Why am I not doing good work? Because when you had the opportunity to show who you are, what your skills are, that you're interested, you don't take that, right? These town halls are a beautiful opportunity to do that, correct? So in this case, right, in the CEO's address, he is telling you, hey, the last year, right, was great. It had opportunities and challenges. We grew by 8%, which is not bad for a very big company, right? But there are pressures, there are problems, right? Our SUV are those big vehicles like Jeeps or your like the Boleros or the XUVs or the big Safaris, the big cars. That segment, we have these cars like Raider and Apex, some names, and they have done well. They exceeded, they're selling really well. But our sedan means the normal cars like you have, not like a Honda City or those kind of cars, they are not doing well. Our sedans are not doing well. Their sales are down by 15%. Right? I gave you this information. Then I'm telling you that we have managed to tackle Mahindra and Mahindra or companies who we compete with in SUV. We have managed to defend our market share. We are competing very well, but we are not done well in the sedans where we have lost our market share to Hyundai and Kia. Right? We are not doing well there. But our 3 year vision strategy is drive the future, which is about electric vehicle, EV. Right? We will be heavily investing in EV technology, expanding our EV lineup. That's our focus. And we are also phasing out our sedans. Sedans are not doing well. We are going to slowly use that money and put it in EV, electric vehicles, right? And we'll be channeling our money towards research and development around battery technology, EVs, and autonomous driving, right? Automatic driving, those kind of technologies. Thus, Who will be required for that? We are going to require EV engineers, software developers, data scientists. A lot of data. It's like the EV car is like a computer. I need data scientists to analyze all the data and help me improve the car continuously. Right? That's our goal. 3 years strategy. Now I'm ready to answer your question. Do you have any questions? This is what will happen, guys. Right? Now, what will you do? Because it's not like the CEO is going to stand there for 2 hours to answer your questions. He'll have like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. How will you know what to ask? Right? First, we said don't be afraid, ask. Right? So come up with the question. That's a starting point. But how will you know what to ask? So it will stay. I'll learn and also get noticed. Right? Here now, guys, interestingly, right? There's so much data, but if you paid attention, and one of the techniques I use to start asking good questions is categorize. This categories we talked about. I quickly note down what actually I stood out for me out of all the things he said. For me, as whoever I am in the company, what did I notice? So in this case, right, you notice he talked about all these things about we did well in SUVs, our market share grew by 8%, we are not doing well in sedans, we want to do electric vehicles, we will move money to EV from our sedans. A lot of things I listened to. And what caught my attention? Well, in summary, company did okay this year, so it's not in financial trouble. Because sometimes you can come and say we are going to fire people, we are not doing well. It didn't happen. So company is not in a bad shape. Another thing I noticed is important to know as an employee, right? Another thing is SUVs are doing well and sedans are not. The big vehicles, SUVs are doing well, sedans are not. EV is a big area of focus. And sedans should be a declining investment, which means money will be moved. So if I imagine how important this is. Imagine that I am listening to it and I'm working in the sedan department. All of a sudden, I know my job is at risk. Right? I need to notice this that sedans are a declining investment while EVs where the new investments will go. I need to know that because I'm in sedans. If I stay there, one day I'll be fired. So he said things which I listened to, and these things caught my attention. So now what? How will I ask a good question? Now imagine, now the important part of this case study is that the questions are not just about interest. It is about what your goal is. Who are you in the company? Depending on who you are, your question will change. Right? This technique talks about that part. That your context, the word is uses context. What's your context? Who are you? Are you a manager? Are you in product? Are you in engineering? Are you in support? Are you in marketing? Are you in sales? Your question will completely change depending on that. Let's prove that, right? So if you're an engineer, what would be your goal? Your goal is to ask a question where you learn, but you also stand out as an engineer in the crowd. You're not just somebody. If you ask a question about saying that, oh, tell me, how will we do our next marketing campaign, right? So that we sell more. Yeah, it's a good question, but not relevant because you're not in marketing. And he'll say, yeah, you're curious, but is it an insightful question? I mean, when I have very limited time to ask, right? He'll probably answer one or two questions max, right? Should I ask a question on marketing which have nothing to do with, right? So the context of who you are, and this is a case study when you have very limited time, right? So now immediately in my head I categorize saying that basically as an engineer what am I interested in? Technical things because I'm an engineer. So about whatever it spoke about technical or technologies I'm very interested in. I want to know the product direction because what I'm going to work on will depend on where the product is going, the car. What is the plan? And then I want to do well in the company, my professional development. I want to learn more so I can get career opportunities and I can get promoted, right? So these are the things I need to be focusing on as categories when I ask those questions. If I get an opportunity to ask the question, right? Correct? Because we are already learned, guys, categorize, focus, and ask. But in this case now, this technique is telling you that with limited, when you have limited time, right? The another thing you should always worry about is your context, who you are, what is your role, goal, right? In asking, so that you can ask only the right questions. Correct? So in this case, around technical, if I'm given time, what will I ask? What specific battery technology? There can be any question. This is an example, by the way, guys, right? What specific battery technologies are we exploring for the next generation electric vehicles? When the CEO hears that and your engineer is saying, hey, what's your name, young man or young woman? What's your name? Oh, this person is, asking a very interesting question. Because if I just say our focus is EV, and if he's asking about battery technologies, that means this person is really interested, right? And he should probably work in that department. Really, those are the kind of thoughts will go through my head. Or I could ask him, what is the roadmap for developing autonomous driving? Because I want to work in that department, right? If I don't know how we are going to get to the autonomous driving roadmap, right? And that's also a very interesting question. It directly pertains to me because I would like to know the product direction so I can acquire the right skills to work in that. And I want to grow in the company. So I will say, I could ask the question, what are the opportunities available for engineers? I'm working in the sedan department, right? I clearly saw that sedans are going down. So now if I want to move to EV, how can I upskill and gain expertise? Is the company trying to, if I'm a good engineer in sedans, is the company going to invest in trying to help me upskill so I can move into the EV technologies or no? Then I have to learn on my own, but at least I can ask. So now this person listening, the CEO says, yeah, this guy is ambitious, right? He's asking the right questions to make sure that he's putting in the effort to learn now where the company is going. These are very impressive questions, right? Because the context in this case was as an engineer in the company, right? Now, if you are a customer service person, right, your goal, right, is basically your customer support, right? So now again, you will not ask questions about EV technologies, you will not ask about battery technologies, right? That how do I develop, or the kind of questions the engineer asks, because the context is I'm in customer service or customer support, I want to do well in that, right? So there, what could my categories be? That all of a sudden my company is getting into an area which I don't know of, right? Which is EV. I never done support to customers who have EV, and we're going to invest more and more in that. So I need to understand our preparedness, my preparedness, my department's preparedness to do this, right? What is the future direction of customer service? Is it going to be the same, or as we go into more and more EV or more and more database support, it may not be that I have to call somebody or they'll speak with me. I might have to develop AI bots, agents, and I might have to upskill myself to do that. Who knows? Right? So let me ask you the direction. Maybe that's of interest to me. That's my career growth and professional development. It's more personally for me. What's my future is, right? That could be the categories, right? Now all of a sudden, then I know the questions to ask, right? I could ask the question saying, what specialized training will you provide to customer support? Because we'll start selling the EV vehicles, but the same people won't be able to answer or respond because they are not learned. So what trainings will be given to us? The CEO will say, lovely. Now I'll tell you what budget I allocated for that. It's a very good question because you actually care to say that when questions start coming, I'm prepared. Very nice. I could ask about future direction. What process will be in place to address customer concern related to EV? Because EV is a very different thing than normal vehicles. Customers will have completely different processes to address. They might expect digital interaction more than physical, right? How do I, is there any new process we are putting in place? So now as a CEO, I'll say, yeah, good. We have to do a complete process revamp, and this person is interested in that, right? And there are, I could ask about my personally, I want to grow. So what are the digital tools and platforms we use so I can learn them? I can upskill so that I don't become irrelevant to the company, right? So these are very good questions, and I'll say, great. So the reason, guys, I gave you this example is because if you noticed, right, as an engineer, what I ask, and as a customer support will be very different. If I'm in marketing, I'll not ask any of these questions. I'll ask totally different questions. So this technique is about understanding your context. Because sometimes what happens is I've seen people who take this inquisitive and ask all kind of questions which are not relevant to them just to show they can ask questions. Don't do that. One powerful question is 100 times better than 10 useless questions. Volume is not important. Quality is important of the question, right? So while first step is to become curious and start asking, we need to get better and better to ask the right questions at the right time also. That's part of the technique also. So now in this technique, what you do is you take the old technique of categorization and question, but add one more layer to it called context. Who am I? What is my goal with asking these questions? And with that goal, narrow down the questions for my context. Okay. So in the new world of AI, right? Basically, we notice, right, that this has become more and more important because AI is also very generic, right? It will answer anything you ask. But if the context is not provided, the goal is not provided on why what you are trying to ask with the specific goals and the context in mind, it will answer generically. I'm trying to make sure that you understand, as with this new world of AI, right? This is going to happen daily, guys. Daily. Right? So before we go to the last part, any questions? Any questions so far about till now? We have covered three techniques. Just to recap, right? We first covered, right, about the importance of curiosity and inquisitiveness. Why it is important in the first place. We talked about what stops us from being that. And as I said, in the other Satcam sessions, we'll actually go deeper and deeper into the skill of communication, articulation, so on and so forth, right? But we have to also understand why we don't ask questions. So we talked about that. Then we learn three techniques, right? Categorization, focus, and prioritization of questions. Then we learned another technique of the 5 Ws and 1 H. And then we learned about this with this industry case study. We learned about another technique of contextualizing your questions on for who you are and what your goal is. Right? Three techniques. Correct? So any questions so far? Now going back to where we started, I started with saying that in the world where AI is going to be every day, how do you use this as for career growth? Why would you be the better than somebody else and not allow the AI to replace you? How would you, in the world of AI, get promotions, right? So we can again take an example of some roles. So as I said, some of you guys would be aspiring to become engineers, software engineers, right? So today, one of the challenges with AI is that you are writing, old way. When I was in the industry, we were writing every part of the code, right? Because we had no tools, nothing to help us. The new AI way is that basically you are asking AI. Now today you are saying write it, and AI is just doing it for you. In this example, you are asking AI to write the backend of a login, like a typical login page. Write it. Of course, it will write it, right? And you can just submit it also. Then this is my work, right? Instead of doing that, now what is the problem with that? If you do that, as we already established, you will not know the logic and you will not be able to fix any problems. But if you are inquisitive, if you do what we just talked about today, then instead of just copying the code, you will keep interacting with AI, asking the questions, different kind of questions by categorizing, using the techniques, contextualizing. Questions like, why did you choose this specific encryption? Why not others? Because tomorrow this question may be asked to you by your manager. That why this encryption library? Why not something other else? You don't know the answer because AI picked it. But if you ask this question, AI will have to justify it. Or some leader will have to justify saying use this library, right? Then you'll say, if I'm using this logic you're writing, is there a way it can fail in some scenario? And then you talk about what kind of scenarios your customer has. So you'll keep asking these questions, right? Inquisitive way. The payoff is that tomorrow when there is a problem, the AI copier, right, the person who actually copied what AI gave and gave it, won't be able to do anything. Whereas the inquisitive engineer who has done this will be able to say, yeah, wait a second, I know where the problem is because I actually had gone into why it picked this library or why it did it this way. And yeah, now let me go in and figure this out. Correct? So this is a career and you will get noticed and you will get promoted. Because now out of the many engineers, you are the person who understands. Most of people will copy and paste. Don't do that. Yeah? Let's say you're a data analyst. A lot of you guys are into data science. You might become data analyst or you become data scientist, so on and so forth. Old way was in our world when none of this was there. We used to use Excel or tools, simple tools to analyze. In the new AI way, unfortunately, you're just uploading the data to the engine and asking it to analyze. And you say, okay, I give you all this data. Based on the data, give me the top 3 trends, top 3 things you notice, and AI will give it to you, and you'll submit to your manager saying, these are the main things the I notice. You will say you will notice, but AI has done it for you. The right way to do it is the inquisitive way, right? That first you completely stare and analyze the data yourself, and you are going to see some problems, some anomalies, some issues as you see the data. Rather than asking AI to just give you the 3 trends, you're going to start asking questions to it or asking questions to your data and answering it yourself. Or there's a spike in October. Typically, the spike should not happen. Why is it happening this year? Is there a problem with the data we have collected? You start asking these questions before you ask AI to come back with the analysis. You use AI as a tool, but direct it in a way by asking these questions, you don't allow it to just conclude something before you confirm that you understood everything. Right? Now, how does this help? Same thing. You provide some conclusions and the conclusions turn out to be wrong. Right? There's a problem with the core data itself. Most problems happening today is the data itself is wrong. But you don't notice it because you fed all the wrong data. It's called garbage in, garbage out. You give garbage to AI, it will provide you some answer to the garbage. It is the garbage. But if you ensure the data is good, then the answer will be good. And for that, you have to ask all the questions around that data, right? Again, same thing, you can use categorization, focus, all the same techniques, guys, around data, right? And now you just don't report it. You're not just a guy who's giving saying AI came with these three trends. These are three trends. Now you know the data in and out, and you will stand out, and you will get promoted or you'll get noticed in the company, right? So basically, I took examples from software companies, but this can happen like especially now a marketing person can say, "Give me a marketing plan," right? For this app we have developed, it'll feed all the information. It'll give some marketing plan. But I already said at the beginning, the inquisitive person doesn't do that, right? They will know their customer. They'll ask questions that, oh, I'll feed you all my customer data, and from that, can you figure out what are the psychological triggers? It could be anything, or you work with your customer, speak with them actually, and figure out what they like, what they don't, and make sure that that kind of data is used for AI to come with its analysis or the conclusions to develop their marketing or brand strategy. Then you will stand out because now you basically have done something which is unique, different. You're not taken data which is available to everybody, and your marketing campaign doesn't look like everybody's marketing campaign. You ask all the right questions with the context, with the techniques we have learned, right? So our goal, guys, is to be learn it all. Know it all is easy now. In my world, right, when I got out from college, right, know it all was also important because nobody had all these tools and information available. Just knowing it was enough. Now no longer. You have a AI is not going to know everything. You have to learn it all, right? Don't use AI in your case as an example. Don't use AI just to finish your homework faster and say, now I'm done. Let me go for movies. Yeah, you should watch movies. Not saying no. But now you have a lot of time because AI is helping you do things which it never helped us. But with that time, how do you use it? You use these techniques to understand, question, understand. You, as I said, you don't need to be afraid because you're talking to a tool, to a technology. Tomorrow you'll have to talk to people, right? And ask questions and get answers from people, right? So this uses extra time to do that. Because curiosity and inquisitiveness is actually a compass that tells you, right, which direction to go to solve the right problem and not chase the wrong ones. There are so many problems out there. You don't have time to solve all of them. It helps you focus. It helps you get organized. It helps you get noticed because you're now understanding the problem. Right? Right. So, in summary, any questions? We're at the end of our presentation. Any questions so far? If not, um, um, then I would say go on and see the world in a different light. Be curious and be inquisitive, and we guarantee it at Satkam. We guarantee it. It'll be far more interesting and beneficial for your careers. It's a must-have, guys, in today's world of AI, especially so. Trust us on this. We take interviews all the time, and people who are not showing this are not getting picked in many of the companies you are working in now. We are not picking people unless they demonstrate this skill. It's that important. Okay? Thank you. So, guys, so as we said, right? I hope this was very clear, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation. You enjoyed the topic. As with every Satkam topic, there will be a small continuous evaluation exam we'll be sending you, which you have to finish by the next week. Enjoy the exam. It's a case study based exam, just to make sure that you guys, can recall what we have learned together. And This will be same thing will be used in midterms or finals and so on and so forth. But more importantly, right, it will be very good if you start practicing these techniques in your college projects or anything you are doing, right? And we hope you can do that so that you can get better and better at it. So with that said, any questions you have at this point of time? I'll hang on for a couple of minutes because we are done. We are done with the session. But I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. So if you have any questions, there's a question around exam. Sorry, the attendance. So I just there's no attendance sheet. So the exam will be sending you the students who give the exam will be marked as present. Um, I think Aditya, I think there is a question on whether the recall the important topics. Yeah, so the important things as we summarized at the end, Aditya, was that we learned about first and foremost in the world of AI, especially why inquisitiveness is and asking the right questions or asking questions is very critical. And we learned four techniques actually for that, which is how to whenever are given a problem, how to categorize the problem into parts and only think of questions by category so you don't get confused, right? And the second was how to convert close-ended questions to open-ended questions, which will always give you more information. Then we spoke about the 5 Ws and 1 H technique, and then we spoke about the context, which is ask questions from your goals, right? So